All right, you heard Ken Workington. You could hear the little bit of excitement in his voice as he prepared the very first Winterbook Top 10 for the Hamiltonian. You heard the date. Make sure you save the date. Saturday, August 6th, the 97th edition of America's Trotting Classic for $1 million. Always the greatest day in harness racing, the greatest betting card, et cetera, et cetera. And here we go. Let's take a look at the list, and what do you know? Right on top is a filly, Venerable.
Yeah, Venerable is just a sensational filly from the nifty Norman barn. We're going to take a look at Venerable winning the Jim Doherty on August the 7th on Hamiltonian Day. And Venerable had just such a tremendous season for Nifty, winning 9 of just 11 starts, banking just over $1 million. Here we see Venerable drawing away from the field in the Jim Doherty Memorial. And this obviously sets up as giving us the pre-book favorite for next season's Hamiltonian Oaks. But because Venerable was the winner of the Mohawk Million, defeating both Colts and fillies, I think that she deserves the #1 spot in the Hamiltonian Top 10.
You know, because there's so many fillies on this list, Dave, it's going to be difficult, I think, for some of those connections to all be on the same page. You have to have a plan. Are we going to race in the Hamiltonian or are we going to race in the Oaks? And sometimes those details determine how your first couple of starts are, because you don't have to make that decision. In that second slot, guess what? Filly, Joviality, who in the Goldsmith Maid handed Venerable one of her first losses.
Yeah, this is gunning down Venerable at the wire when it appeared that Venerable simply could not lose. But Joviality put up amazing statistics during 2021, winning 9 of 12 starts and banking nearly $900,000. And this win came 3 weeks after taking the Breeders' Crown in the slop from post position 10. This is another budding star from Marcus Melander. And you know, Dave, as you alluded to, what if Marcus says to himself, well, Nifty's probably going to go in the Hamiltonian with Venerable. Maybe I'll take a little bit of an easier road and beat up on everybody in the Hamiltonian Oaks. We'll see.
I wonder if they'll ever have that conversation.
I know.
You know, that's a really good point to make. I'm glad you said that. We'll have to see if we can work our way into those camps and get some of that information. Who's the top colt on this list? Well, it is Ray Schnitker's King of the North, and back to Hamiltonian Day we go. Man, did he make up some ground in the Peter Houghton.
And he went 3 wide at 3/4, and he gets up in time to win the Peter Houghton. Again, that serves as the early book who's going to be the Hamiltonian favorite. This year it's a little bit different because of how excellent Venerable was. King of the North is the leading male performer. He also won the Wellwood during the course of the season, and here's one of the keys to his year last year. He won 6 of 10 and banked almost $600,000, but he was bothered early in the Mohawk Million, being interfered with and going off stride before coming back to get a check. He was really good that night. He was really good during all of 2021. And I'm not saying right now that Venerable is better than King of the North. I simply don't know at this particular point in time.
I'm hoping they're all healthy. They're all coming back strong. They should be resuming training activities, so to speak, along with the rest of their stable mates as well. We've got one more piece of video to show you. Why not show the Breeders' Crown, the first Breeders' Crown for trainer Lucas Wallen. Here's Rebuff on that sloppy night. What a nice mile this was.
And Lucas Wallen really had Rebuff in top form coming into this. 9 of 11 on the season, $444,000 in earnings. Make that 4 of 11 on the season. So a very quality win here at the end of the year for $600,000 in the Breeders' Crown. Rebuff is certainly going to be a player in that division this year, especially if this horse off an 11-start season shows a little bit of improvement. We know how good the Lucas Wallen barn has been over the last couple of seasons, and that is a barn now with a lot of momentum.
Lucas Wallen, a very talented young trainer that has a knack for developing some top young trotters. I'm going to ask you about 2 more on the list before we throw it to break here, and it's the 2 Lindy horses, 1 colt, 1 filly, branded by Lindy for Domenico Cecere. That's the colt. Raised by Lindy for Domenico Cecere. That's the filly. Yannick Gingras handled both of them at the end of the season.
Yeah, and Yannick did mention when he talked to Shades, I think it was last week, that he was obviously disappointed when branded by Lindy failed in the Breeders' Crown, but certainly this one can come back strong this year. At one point during 2021, branded by Lindy won a half dozen races in a row at Lexington's Red Mile. The filly, raised by Lindy, missed a nose in the Breeders' Crown, and it's obviously another standout for Cecere. If Joviality and Venerable take the Hamiltonian route, maybe raised by Lindy will raise to the top of the 3-year-old trotting filly crew.
You know, so many questions to be answered between now and August 6th. How many weeks is that? I didn't add it up. we'll save that for later on
All
when
right.
we do this as part of our weekly feature. But our thanks to Ken Workington for coming up with the initial list. We'll deal with the feedback on social media. I'm sure we'll get a few comments and texts and messages and stuff like that. So, folks, let's take a little time out here. When we come back, we have not one but two featured races to take a look at. Get ready. Races 9 and 14 coming up when Racing from the Meadowlands on a Saturday night continues right after this.